or went to a region role that, several mentors said, don't take a field marketing role, don't leave brand. But came here, was able to grow Mountain Dew 20-ounce single serve to be the number one single serve, surpassing the competitors. Some of the people are in the room today. Back in 2014 to 2018. But those are the things I say as women, you cannot just assume that people know what's best for you. You really have to dig and go deep and ask why. And they can't tell you why, and then you take the whys and go and make sure that they're true for yourself. Don't steer away from opportunity.
Very well said. All right, Brittney, you're next. So I found a saying that says, exclusion has been deliberately orchestrated. Inclusion must be deliberately embedded. When we were having our pre-conversation, you were very authentic and genuine in saying, yes, I'm a woman in marketing, but I'm also a woman of color in marketing. And you were very true to, I could feel your energy and your true feeling about that. And I was like, please, show up authentically with how you're feeling about this. So can you talk to us about navigating this industry as a woman of color in marketing?
Thank you. Okay, it sounds like you guys can hear me okay. So I love the quote. It's definitely right on target and perfect. I would say from an exclusion standpoint, or even backing up, I feel like when you foster environments of inclusion, it allows for all voices to be advocated for and representation to just naturally happen, instead of having to advocate for the voices that are not necessarily typically heard, right? And I have some examples of an example of the exclusion, an example of the inclusion, and I'll say one of the examples that I do have from an inclusion standpoint, you guys will actually hear them speaking later today. Carter is talking about multicultural marketing, and I will say that was an experience that I had in a previous role where it was my first time truly seeing intentional marketing towards multicultural individuals and getting it right, and learning also and taking those insights and, continuously optimizing on opportunities to reach a diverse group of consumers, prospects, and current customers. And it gave me so much insight and motivation also as a marketer in seeing the approach that was taken, and I gained a lot of respect for the company as well as those that do take those very intentional routes of making sure that they represent the voices, the faces of many different people. From an exclusion perspective and navigating that, like you said, in a previous role, I actually have been in a room, the only minority, double minority as you mentioned. Well, no, just the only minority. And we were a marketing team. However, the faces, the people that were hired to promote and market the brand that I was representing at the time, there was only one face, right? And this was a brand that was available to many different people within the Atlanta region also. And so how I've approached it is, you mentioned the word authentic, and it's definitely been a common word, but being authentic to myself and advocating for, individuals that I didn't see that were seen, and also explaining the impact of that. I'll say especially, and I talk to my daughter about this often, Little Mermaid is a perfect example. When I grew up, Little Mermaid looked differently than what Little Mermaid does now, right? And I'm like, my daughter's name is Zoe. Zoe, you don't even understand what this means. It gives me chills saying that because things look so different now. But the chill, the emotion that I felt, what she will eventually realize, and many kids now growing up, I feel like she has a natural expectation that what she sees now is what she's supposed to see, and when she doesn't see it, it's abnormal. Whereas me, it was so abnormal that I appreciate it so much, which is odd, but it's also bittersweet at the same token. So yeah, that's been my experience, and continually advocating because I know what it's like to not be represented and to have to create experiences through what I feel like should be the experience for me, but although the person may not look or have the same, background as what I do.
I don't know if anyone else got chills as I did when you're talking about Little Mermaid. That was I can see her face smiling a bit. All right, so one of the commonalities across all of us, we're not only women, but we are all working mothers, and I think that is a huge way that we actually, I think, all connected. I mean, I think more than half of us received a phone call from our daycares or camps this morning. It's, logistics is our middle name. But Katie, when you and I were talking prior to today, you are also very vulnerable in this topic. And I think you said your motto for 2024 was, I've just got to set my emotions on a shelf, which was a tough thing for me to hear because I'm like, I would love for you to be authentic and showing up with those emotions, but can you just kind of tell the group what you meant by that motto and how that kind of came to be?
Yeah. Thank you so much. And real quick, thank you, Papa John's, for that delicious lunch. I'm now a huge fan of the chicken parmesan bites. I had never had them before, and they will be in my favorites folder now, so thank you. So my motto for the year is, and I have notes so I can stay on script because I can speak all day long. I love an audience. This year, I'm aiming to bring authenticity into my work, yet take the anxiety out of my day-to-day. So I'll say it again. I want to bring authenticity into my work, yet take the anxiety out of my day-to-day. And I think that whether you're a working parent, male or woman, you're constantly juggling and feeling like you're letting somebody down. And yet, in the balance in my marriage, my husband travels every week for work. The day-to-day, task management falls on me. However, at IHG, we have a wonderful organization that is very family-centric and empowering for working parents. And I need to better know my worth and have better confidence that I was hired to bring a valuable skill set to the organization, and know that a lot of the anxiety that I feel constantly juggling the day-to-day is self-inflicted. So I told myself I'm not going to be my own worst enemy this year, and I boiled that down to a couple key lessons. I'm approaching my to-do list objectively. Before 11 a.m. this morning, I got up, I made the kids lunches for camp, I got them their medicine, I fed them, made sure they were clean. I worked out suddenly with a neighbor because it was raining to pick them up and take them to camp where they could have just ridden their bikes. Got my dog to the vet, got here and had a pre-meeting. And it's a lot to do. And where that would usually take anxiety, just the anxiousness of how is it all going to work out, trusting that with the right planning, or leaning on others more so than I ever have before, making that phone call to the neighbor instead of being reluctant to, just rip the Band-Aid off. Call the neighbor, she's like, I'd be happy to take your kids, no problem. So when I say approach my to-do list objectively, write down the tasks that need to get done. Get kids to camp, get to the office, finish a deck for a presentation this afternoon, and leave early to get a kid to an appointment. And when you put it in objective terms, in compartmentalizing anxiety, you say, how do I need to do those things? What steps need to be taken? Whether you call a neighbor, whether you duck out early, whether you ask a peer, hey, can you proofread this deck for me so I can get my kid to the doctor? And take an objective approach to my to-do list. Secondly, I'm communicating my limits and I'm owning it. I can only do so much for so many people, but I'm trying to proactively communicate, hey, I can't get that to you when you ask me to, but I can take it this far, or if you can give me 24 hours more, I'd be happy to get you your full deliverable. And just without the emotion or without feeling like I'm shortchanging anybody.
Without saying sorry.
Just communicating and knowing that I'm adding value and I've learned something, but just making sure that I'm communicating. Here's what I can do, or if you give me more time, I can do it greater or differently. More broadly in our careers, it's taking the long game too. Knowing that right now things might feel messy, and I might be asking for more extensions than needed, but it's not always going to be like this. And knowing that I'm kind of in this perpetual hamster wheel, but 10 years from now when the kids are more self-sufficient, I'll get back to fully leaning in full throttle at the caliber that I know I'm capable of performing at professionally. It's just not the right now moment in this phase of my life. And then lastly is taking the emotion out of difficult conversations and knowing my worth, like I said. So conversations like compensation, performance, and workplace opportunities, and knowing when you want to lean in. There's I think a perpetual anxiety as a woman to to feel a little nervous or like you might not be the right person for that, or kind of give yourself excuses before you give yourself permission. And this year, going back to what you led with, I'm putting that emotion on the shelf. I'm like, how would my husband approach this? He'd be like, you know what, there's a pay delta between my peers and I, let's talk about it. And it's not an emotional topic, it's actually a data point. Or with lean-in opportunities. Hey, there's an organization at the office, I want to make time for it in my work day, so I'm going to. And if it's something that the organization provides, then my management, I now come to find out, they not only support it, but they champion it. So whereas I think, gosh, that's really going to impede my ability to get my day job done, it's like, no, these resources are available because they want us to grow and stretch. So approaching my to-do list objectively, communicating my limits and owning it, and put your emotions on the shelf. Get your shit done, do it well, and own it.
I love that. So the tagline for See Her, the video that I just showed in the beginning, the tagline for See Her is, if you can see her, you can be her. But my question is, what if she doesn't see it? So on one hand, we're having a conversation about women in marketing. The other side of this is marketing to women, correctly, adequately, in a way that allows them to see themselves and the possibilities that they have. So, Erin, you and I discussed how you, as a woman, in your role as VP of Franchise Marketing at Freddy's, your vision and what you saw when you came into the company, and the research and the work that you have done to make sure that she sees what you're offering, I think was a really powerful message. So can you kind of tell us more about the research that you did?
Targeting women? I can. So when I started at the brand 3 years ago, there was not a marketing team. And Freddy's was successful by word of mouth. And if you asked 100 people in the Freddy's office who the consumer was, you'd get 100 different answers. And so we very quickly realized, who is our target? Who are we supposed to talk to? How are we supposed to talk to them? And so that led to a lot of very interesting research, and we very quickly realized we're pulling the purse strings, we're making the decisions, and women were not being marketed to at our brand at all. It's burgers and fries, right? It wouldn't be typical that you would think, oh, I need to market to a woman. And we really leaned in and said, okay, millennial moms and families, you're our focus. And in a short period, just over 2 years, we flipped the script and went from 45% women to about 65% women as our guests. And that was really strategic through a new kids club, a kids program that's really geared to kids, inclusive of families. It's really sweet and kind and brings the family unit together. We introduced new menu products that were really kind of more women focused, right? So chain clubs and items like that. So, and it's funny, he said, do you think if you were not on the marketing team this would have happened? And I would like to think that it would have, but no. I mean, I was so passionate, particularly about the kids program, because it just felt like such a gap. I have a 6-year-old, and he would be like, Mom, I work for Freddy's. Mom, can we go to McDonald's so I can get a Happy Meal? And I'm like, I get it, right? Because we don't have anything for you, and you're also making our family decision. And so to watch this come to life has been just really satisfying. We have a great new mascot. His name is Redhead. He's fun with the whole family. And the numbers are showing that this is what the brand needed and was missing. And we're going to really continue to focus on it and continue to do the research, right? I think it's so important. Often of course I want it to be what I think, but at the end of the day, it's what everybody thinks about the brand. And so we are constantly updating our research to say, what is our guest saying? What is our guest thinking? How are they buying? Who are we talking to? Who is our guest? How is that changing? And every time we open a new state, it opens a whole new world too, right? Okay, so now I'm in New Jersey with 2 stores, and that's very different than Wichita, Kansas. And so how do we talk to this really wide consumer base and be really hyper-aware of who we're talking to in different markets? And so it's a slow roll. We're getting there. We're a small company, but I love that our team, we all have the same focus, and we want the same output. And so that's been really, really inspiring.
So when I was talking with each of you, and I kind of lobbed the idea of breaking this conversation into women in marketing and marketing to women. Everyone was very passionate about the women in marketing. I'm a woman, I'm a professional, I have a lot to say. We could be here all day. But then also when I talked about marketing to women, each of you were kind of like, well, yeah, we do it, but maybe not like but then as we started to have the conversations, Brittney, you were fascinating too because you are leading a male beauty brand. And so can you tell us about kind of, I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, so Bevel, which is a subsidiary, it rolls into Walker & Company, which is a subsidiary of Procter & Gamble, and a men's grooming brand, head to toe, shampoos, hair conditioners, barber tools. Like Katie said, our audience, is men, right? However, what we've learned is that women are actually the influencers of men purchasing their beauty products, their grooming products. And then not only that, we also learned that women use our products. So from our safety razors, anyone who shaves like bald women, many women use our safety razors to shave their legs because they have confidence that men's safety or shaving products are more superior than the women offerings. I have a colleague out in the audience, Gerard, who runs our influencer program, and we've seen a significant number of women who are creating content for our products as well. Not only shopping for the men in their lives, but also using the products for themselves and talking about, that's different. Not only shopping for the men in their lives, but also using the products themselves. So it was very interesting to us as a brand to learn that although the products were created for men, with men in mind, women are truly leveraging the products and see the benefit in using them also. So that's something that we're thinking about as a marketing team, and how do we reach that user outside of just trying to influence her to purchase for the men in her lives, but also continuously getting her and incentivizing her to purchase our products as well.
Anybody else? I know you have. I can see it in your eyes.
Similarly, when I got to Lifeway, they had not done any research. When I started asking for segmentation work, journey mapping, it was like deer in the headlights.
Your Pepsi came out.
What are you talking about? Yeah, and it was exciting to me, primarily because I said, okay, this is an opportunity to share this information, this process of how to go deep with the consumer and totally change the way these marketers look at things. And so in terms of advocating for yourself, my boss, the CEO, I said, we need to extend the launch, delay the launch, because we need to take a step back. The big project when I started it 2.5 years ago was to launch a new curriculum. For those of you that do not know, Lifeway is the largest producer of Christian supplies, books, Bibles globally. Tons of languages. And so, he was like, we're supposed to launch. I said, people don't know what they're doing. They're just writing a curriculum based on what they've been doing over the past 30 years, and it's supposed to be for kids. But with that being said, the mom is the person that needs to be enticed. In addition to that, I think most teachers of Sunday school curriculums are women as well. So we have double women that we're talking to that I just know off the top of my head, and that's without even doing research, and that is not being included in the conversation here. So he said, okay, don't really understand, but I trust you. And I appreciated the honesty. Took a step back, were able to find a company willing to take on this very large segmentation project. And it took us 3 months. We really did it fast-paced. And we did some journey mapping as well. We did ethnographies. We went to different regions that we were targeting. And so it was just so amazing to take really, world-class processes from PepsiCo, from Kimberly, and to bring it to this small, mid-sized company. And they were just so excited. And the product, when it launched, Hi-Fi is the name of the curriculum, for those of you that may be interested. But we surpassed all of the KPIs. It has really been a game changer in churches, the adoption, because of the key insight of you are seen. So we were able to pull out that moms want to know that their child is seen for who they are. Churches want individuals, not just children, but you start with children. If you can get the child to understand they are loved, they are important, they are valuable, you're circumventing a lot of issues that can potentially arise in a person's life because they have that love for themselves. And so when we were able to uncover this one insight that was so robust and so endearing to both of those women targets, the 88% rate of teachers that are women in churches, as well as moms everywhere, we really hit a home run. So, just another, advocating for yourself and stopping to say, if you really want me to be successful in this, the company to be successful in this, we gotta push it 6 months, a year, what have you. But my motto is, it's better to do it right from the beginning than having to relaunch, because we're all marketers. We know that that's not what you want to do. So that's just a story there on, really putting women at the forefront and realizing that you got more than one woman chooser there.
All right, so I think that is, I'm gonna wrap it up here. As I mentioned, the natural organic camaraderie between all of us, I feel like I'm gonna know you guys for the rest of my career, so it was lovely to connect with you. And it's lovely to feel seen as a woman in marketing. So thank you for showing up as your authentic selves. Can I open it up for any Q&A for these lovely ladies? No? Everyone's tired from this.
So in my role, a big focus is connecting our people to resources that support them. So I would love to hear from your perspectives as moms, in leadership positions, what is one benefit or one value that your organization has today that makes you feel supported as a mother?
So just Freddy's is based in the Midwest, and there are 4 now Atlanta women representatives on the marketing team, and our CMO comes from Coca-Cola. We have a kind of breadth of experience outside of Wichita, quite frankly, and so for us, what's been awesome is to bring that kind of Atlanta knowledge to Wichita and say, okay, as women in the restaurant business, there's just inherently not a lot of us. And so we actually brought to the company, like, hi, we want to join Women in Food Service Forum. We want opportunities for women to do more. And it makes me proud because I don't think that existed at Freddy's very much prior to us. And we've seen great adoption, and it feels great as a leader to say, again, we just have it's just a different world, kind of. And so I love bringing that kind of vision of Atlanta and just bigger picture to the team in Wichita. And it's not necessarily all mothers, it's just women in general. I've really leaned in this last year just to attending, I just was at a Women in Tech conference, and it's missing. That is missing in a lot of businesses. Like, I went to a conference and there was breakfast, a women's breakfast. It sold out in 5 minutes. There was like people knocking at the door to get in. And so there's just a lot of need and want for more women community in general, I feel like. And so to try to be a part of that for me is really like a particular growth area. Because when I'm in a room with 400 girls, I'm like, yes, we can rule the world. And it's just, and it often feels as though when you start really chatting with people, it does feel like it's missing in a lot of industries, tech in particular, and really the restaurant business. But so that kind of answered it, but it's exciting to bring that to a company that doesn't really have it yet, and kind of see women flourish and be really excited about these opportunities to do more.
That's really exciting.
It is.
So I'll name 2 things quickly. I had my first child at Kimberly Park. They made Huggies diapers, wipes, and so great example of nursing rooms. I mean, they had the pumps in there, pictures of babies. And one thing that I'm appreciative that Lifeway did, we were building a new headquarters a year and a half ago. And I was able to influence having beautiful nursing rooms there, which is one of those things that goes a long way for moms. Just knowing, even if you're not planning to breastfeed, that it's there if you need to just take a rest, a breather, cry, whatever you need to do. And so that was really awesome. And then also, I'll celebrate the CEOs. He brought in, for a leadership team, it was just 7. 3 were women. And so, 2 minority women. And so for a Southern Baptist organization that typically has not been very diverse, the contingency of churches is not super diverse, that was a big thing that they did, so.
What comes to mind for me, now that I am on child 3, and you guys might hear an alarm for me, and speaking about nursing rooms and mothering, so forgive me if it goes off, but I think to answer your question, when I think back on the experiences and being at companies after returning from maternity leave and even acclimating back to life after having a child, which is a beautiful experience, very traumatic also, is empathy. Leading with empathy. I mean, it's so simple, but it's not at the same time. And just remembering, yes, meeting the sales, getting the right audience, executing on the right strategy is so important. But being a human, if you don't have that, it's really hard to focus on the other components in your day-to-day from your professional life. So what sticks out to me is having a manager who was just very supportive to me. And I remember after having a child, I was like, okay, I'm back. I'm ready to get to this next role. I'm ready to grow in my career. And she was like, listen, I think it's great. We can figure out how to support you and get you the right resources for growth. But she was like, I have 2 children and I'm in a leadership role, but I'm also very focused on family life right now. She was very honest with me, and she could lead with empathy and recognizing my hunger, but also giving me a different perspective and seeing you can also be very successful in your career, but also prioritize family. And so, like I said, empathy to me is what sticks out the most.
We're at time. Any other questions? I think that's our time. That was a great question, by the way. Thank you for recognizing the mothers in us. It was very sweet. All right, great job, ladies. Thank you.